What is going on, guys? And in today's video, we are here to react to Fortnite horror stories uh by Mr. Nightmare. Fortnite. Somebody ran out of ideas. Oh god. I saw this, I was like, this is gonna be interesting. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Fortnite horror stories. Story 1 is by James, story 2 is by A. Serwaski, story 3 is by I don't know. Okay. Story 1.
I'm sure by now we all know what Fortnite is. I had known about it for the longest time, but I never actually played it until my friends basically forced me to download it and play with them. They wanted to play in squads, which is what it's called when you play in groups of 4. My 4 friends were Evan, Xavier, and Braxton. Evan was hands down the best player and basically the initiator of this group match. Xavier was the second best. Then there was Braxton. Braxton only spoke on his headset when he was in trouble or needed help. Evan, Xavier, and I, on the other hand, just goofed around and talked the whole time. The two of them did their best to explain how to play to me over the headset. Anyway, none of this really matters. I'll skip ahead to the important part. Evan stopped talking, and there was a good 10 seconds of silence. Then, Evan, who was leading us from one point to another, stopped dead in his tracks. His character just stood still for a while. Xavier turned on his headset, sounding annoyed, telling Evan to move. His character still just stood in place, and Evan said nothing, but according to the screen, Evan's mic was making noise. Then I could hear background noise that seemed to be coming from Evan's mic. Xavier, Braxton, and I were all telling Evan to move or we'd ditch him. But we all dropped silent when a horrific, almost painfully loud screaming came from Evan's mic. It wasn't like he was screaming into the mic. It seemed like Evan was somewhere in the background of the room. Then, a door slammed shut in the background, and the 3 of us were left not knowing what to say or do. I told the 2 of them I'd call Evan immediately, and turned off the console. I tried calling him 5 times. He never picked up, though, so I decided to drive over to his house, which was 2 minutes away. I got to his house and saw no cars in the driveway.
Never mind, I'm not gonna question it. I was about to question something, but never mind.
But the front door was open and the lights were on throughout the house. I let myself in, screaming Evan's name. Evan screamed back from somewhere upstairs. I followed the sound of his voice right up to the loft bedroom, where I found him hiding under the bed. He told me to hide. I told him to get out from under the bed and tell me what happened. He said there was someone in his bedroom. He would speak in very limited sentences for the longest time, until he calmed down and would finally explain in detail. As Evan was playing Fortnite with us, he felt a tap under his bed. He pulled the cloth material that covered the sides of the bed up and looked under the bed, and saw a grown man hiding underneath. That's when he threw his headset on the bed and screamed as he backed into the corner. He says the man emerged from under the bed as Evan was still paralyzed in fear in the corner, screaming. Then the man walked straight out the bedroom door, and that was the last we ever saw of him. At that moment, he didn't know if the man was still in the house or not, so he called the cops, not knowing what else to do.
What are you supposed to do?
When they showed up, we didn't know what to expect from them. 2 cops actually showed up. The male officer went inside of the house and looked around, while the female officer stayed with us outside with a small pocket notebook in her hand, writing down what Evan described to her. And just like that, the cops left.
Yep.
I stayed over Evan's house that night just to make him feel better. We all still play Fortnite together. I'm much better now.
Wait up, I gotta do something. Okay, I'm back. That was kind of scary. I mean, like, just to, like, you're playing and then, like, someone's under your bed. That's, like, my worst fear. Something being under my bed. That's, like, the worst fear ever, by the way. Okay, we're back.
I've never been a huge Fortnite person, but all my friends have been for a while. I always feel like I'm being left out when they're saying to jump on Fortnite and such. Yeah, I've played the game a few times and I get the gist of the gameplay and whatnot. I'm just not good at the game. So one Monday night, I hopped on the game and played alone just to practice. I did that over and over and over, until I started actually getting pretty decent at the game. Then I started to play the game with other players, not my friends, just random people online. I played a game of duos, meaning with one other person on my team. His gamer tag was BobRocket16 or something like that, with a few extra C's and E's or whatever. I didn't write it down. We lost the game, think we ranked like number 20. After the game was over, I got a personal message from the guy, saying he thought I was really good and that we should play again. It was weird because, really, I didn't play too well at all that game. Nevertheless, I played another game with him. This time he turned on his microphone and was trying to talk to me. I don't have a gaming microphone, so I couldn't talk back. I could only hear him through the TV speakers. Based on his tone and what he was saying, he seemed to be getting annoyed that I wasn't talking to him. I heard him say things like, "Put your mic on and stop being a faggot." Any thought of this guy being cool was gone at this point, and I thought he was just a straight-up douche. I was gonna finish the game, but after that was it with this guy. He kept saying stuff, most of it incoherent simply because of my distance to the TV and the noise of the actual game itself. But then I heard him say my name. Not just my first name, my full name.
Huh? What?
When I heard this, I panicked and thought to myself, wait, is my real name displayed on my profile? But I realized, no, it couldn't be. The guy kept saying things over the mic, but I wasn't listening at this point. I went over to the console and turned it off in a panic. Just knowing that the sound of the guy's voice was gone now made me sigh in relief. I texted my friends and told them about it.
Motor trucking.
They all seemed to think it was funny, typing their LOLs and LMAOs and whatnot.
LMAO.
I put my phone down on the desk as I went on my laptop. The phone vibrated again. I expected it to be one of my friends, but it was an unknown number. The message was hi, and then my full name. I typed back, "Who is this?" The typing bubbles with the 3 dots came up for the longest time. I waited anxiously to see what this person was going to say. The message was, "Is this your address?" and then my actual address. I once again typed, "Who is this?" and then I lied and typed, "No, that is..."
I was about to say, if he said yes, I'd be like, "You so dumb." I'd probably be the one to be like, "Yeah, that's right, you got it right." Next thing I know, I hear a knock on my window. "Hello? Shit, get the gun." I seen this one post that said, this will be dudes when there's a school shooter. They're just like building a freaking wall of bricks.
My address.
Or like sticks.
The person never responded after that. I started accusing my friends of fucking with me. They all swore they had nothing to do with it though. Low-key, I didn't believe them, but I didn't bother feeding into it. I figured if it is them, the more reaction I give, the more kicks they get out of it. I went to bed ignoring my friends. I woke up to something. I was almost positive I heard a noise. You know how sometimes a sound will wake you up, but you don't know what the sound was because you weren't awake yet to hear it? Well, that was me at this moment. I sat up looking around my room as anyone naturally would. My whole body jerked in startlement as there was a set of knocks on my window. Instead of looking to see who was out there like a man...
Why did that scare me? How did it... Why did that scare me? Like the knocks, like... Why did that scare me?
I ran like a coward out of my room and to the nearest bathroom where I locked myself in.
Why did that scare me?
There were no windows in that bathroom, so I felt safe. I actually fell asleep in that bathroom, and when I woke up, I texted my friends again, telling them all to go fuck themselves. They all got a kick out of it, but when I saw them in person, they seemed pretty genuine when they told me they had nothing to do with it. To this day, I really don't know if my friends were pranking me, or if that guy who I was playing Fortnite with actually somehow got my information and came to my house.
No, that's actually pretty scary.
Hey,
oh heck,
no,
we're not advertising. Like I'm saying, like if you want me to advertise something, like hit me up. You know what I'm talking about? Like I like hot Cheetos. I like candy. Swedish Fish, my favorite kind of candy. What else do I like? I like Xbox. I have one right here. You want to sponsor me? Well, go ahead. Hit me up on Instagram. Snapchat.
My 10-year-old son Chris had been playing that Fortnite game all day, every day for the past few months, and it had been driving me insane. I would scream at him to go out once in a while. Instead, all I heard was that sound of that bus honking its horn every 10 minutes and constant gunshots coming from his room. Eventually one night at like 9 p.m., Chris came out of his room and shouted out to the kitchen that he was having someone over. I angrily asked him who. He said, some guy from Fortnite who lives
I'm not sure if that fire fits in with like Fortnite. Well, I guess it does because you can build a fire in Fortnite.
around here. A fuse went off in my head as I heard this. Apparently, he invited over some random person he was talking to on Fortnite. When I asked him how old, Chris shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know, he sounds kind of old.
Yeah, that's when you need to beat your child. No, I'm sorry, but like, did you not teach your child how to play online? Or like how life works, anything? Because if my child said, I'm bringing someone over, I'll be like, first of all, you're not bringing no one over without telling me first and get my permission. And number two, how old is they? And if you say you don't know, well then sorry, they're not coming with 15 feet of my yard.
I started to freak out, knowing some random stranger who was probably well older than my 10-year-old son was coming to my house. I locked all the doors and turned on all the porch lights.
Yes.
I told Chris to just keep playing his game in his room and not to talk to anyone else. I waited around by the windows until a car pulled up in front of my house. It stopped and the headlights turned off. The door opened,
Damn, no.
someone came out and started walking up the pathway to my front door. I felt like my heart dropped into my stomach when I saw some middle-aged man, probably 40, mildly overweight, step into the light and then up the stairs to the front door. He rang the bell 3 times. I ignored it. Then he started pounding on the door for a bit. I ignored that as well.
Nah.
He walked down the stoop, looking up through the windows as he walked down the pathway. I made sure he couldn't see me. I thought for sure he'd go to his car and leave, but he went around to the side of my house, out of sight from the windows. He was actually going to my back door. I heard from around back the door being nudged, as he clearly tried to open it. I stayed put where I was. There were no other entry points to the house, so once he gave up, he would surely leave. When the noises from the back door stopped, I waited for 5 minutes in the kitchen, until I thought it was time to check. I wanted to hopefully get a look outside, so I shut the lights and lifted the blinds in the kitchen. There was the man's face, 2 inches from the glass, as he looked into the kitchen, or rather, he now looked at me. I screamed with a shake in my yell that I was calling the cops. I think that scared him off because he walked away, and I watched as he got in his car and left. I didn't call the cops though. Instead, I marched right to Chris's room and scolded him. I grounded him for 2 weeks for endangering not only the household, but himself. That meant no video games for 2 weeks, and after the 2 weeks, he would have to go 2 months without access to his wireless headset. Now that the 2 weeks are up, he's back on the game. I get sick to my stomach thinking about what would have happened if I wasn't home.
Wow. That's actually really scary. Like anything could happen online these days. Like, people are just insane. Talking to little kids like, hey, I'm 12 years old, and in reality, it's a 38-year-old man. Alright, guys, that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, well, then, it's your fault for not enjoying. No. But I really hope you did enjoy. Please like, subscribe, share with all your families and friends, including your sock puppets, if you have one. And go subscribe to Mr. Nightmare. As always, he's like the best. I don't think there's anyone better than him. There might be, but who knows. And I will see you in the next video. Peace out.